Today I'm sitting here with the man, the myth, the legend, Rong Chen. We just had Elastos 1-year anniversary presentation. I must say, that was amazing, Rong.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Let me explain your feelings right now after seeing the community come together.
Well, actually, I'm a little bit relieved because after all, I think it's been a long journey. And also, my understanding is Elastos actually definitely more than one person and more than one organization. So I'm really happy to see now there's such a good crowd and community and actually they're willing, right, to pick up.
Yes. They're the believers. This is the group we have around right here. This is the Evangelists. These are the believers. These are the ones that's going to spread Elastos to every crack of the world.
Right. That's something, hard to believe when I started this journey and now see where we are here today.
So explain how the journey started.
Well, the journey started 18 years ago. Seems not that long ago, but then 18 years, a baby has grown full grown. We started for doing a so-called safer internet, but then I didn't really at that time thought about where the money come from and which market was that for. Mm-hmm. I should have. But now today, coincidentally, I think we're just lucky enough to have this blockchain thing kind of solved the problem, because otherwise who is going to support this new internet? Right?
Yes, exactly. And the blockchain was, the kicker that put this all together. It was the last piece.
Right, yes, exactly. Because throughout the 18 years, basically the technology is really matured. Even though it's really slow, but then it's matured. Mm-hmm. Secondly, because the market 16 years, 17 years ago was not really ready, because people don't really realize the threats from the internet, like viruses, network attack. At that time, because people simply didn't pay that much attention. But now it's as the spread of IoT devices, and also because of when we talk about blockchain value internet, when you transfer value, when you transfer kind of crypto money, right? Yep. Then the threat definitely is...
threat's a lot stronger,
it's
bigger.
A lot stronger, because say if you send me a Bitcoin, and in return I should give you some digital assets, right? Because without a middleman, right? You give me the coin, but you don't know where the digital assets went.
Exactly, yes. So you guys are taking on some of the big projects in blockchain. Ethereum, EOS. Mm-hmm. To beat Ethereum, as we know, Ethereum has the most dApps on it right now.
Right.
To beat Ethereum, you got to hold the contrarian view. Something opposite of what Ethereum's doing. And that's what Elastos holds.
That's because for my age, I'm more lame than that, because I don't want to be a competition or directly challenging anyone, because we have a different point of view, which is true, because we're building a so-called safer internet. That said, internet really is internet of computers or internet of machines, and of course there's humans or IoT devices, whatnot. It's just all interconnected, right? Mm-hmm. But to my mind, a blockchain is just one computer, one specialized computer. Whether it's a EOS or whether it's a Ethereum, it's just one computer.
One computer,
right? One computer, no matter how powerful. It's just one computer. One computer can never solve the world problems.
Yes.
Because definitely, if you look at the real world, there are so many different kinds of computers, right? There's supercomputer for scientific computing. There's a real-time computer for autonomous driving. Then there's a mobile phone being a mobile computer. It's saving energy, cool enough to put in my pocket. Mm-hmm. So definitely, there's no single computer could fit all. And the Ethereum is one smart contract running computer, specialized. Whether it's powerful enough, it depends on the situation.
Yep.
So I don't want to argue or challenge, but on the other hand, since we're doing an internet, we want to collaborate with all computers.
You want to collaborate?
We want to connect with all
computers.
So in a way, we're not. It's Orange and Apple. We're not really directly competing
with them.
No.
So talking about Ethereum, you guys are trying to create an Ethereum sidechain, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
So how is that going to work exactly? Will Ethereum dApps be able to, will they have to migrate over to Elastos, or will they be able to still be on the Ethereum?
Well, I mean, that's two things, because we definitely, because Ethereum is the most popular smart contracts platform. So that said, we do imagine there are dApps of Elastos dApps running. That said, we're basically merging so-called on-chain, off-chain in a flat platform, which is the Elastos carrier. Carrier is a peer-to-peer network connecting all computers. So we don't really have a off-chain, so to speak, right? It's just one platform. That said, we're going to spawn off sidechains on demand. Instead of having a public chain of 10,000 nodes, actually we could spawn, let's say, 7-node sidechain, or 11-node sidechain, or even 1-node sidechain. Let's say, if we bet on a football game, do we really need 10,000 nodes to
confirming
run the
it all?
consensus,
Yeah.
right? Probably we just need one. Because that one randomly pops up on this Elastos carrier. It's a not fixed IP website. So you don't know which one, I don't know which one, because Elastos, after all, is autonomous running. No one is controlling even the carrier, right? So no one can predict where this machine is popping up, this virtual machine popping up. And also the virtual machine is going to run the smart contract where we both have confidence with. If we don't, then you are a node, I'm a node, and yet a third node. So we have 2-to-1 ratio.
Yep.
I know I don't trust you, you don't trust me, but then let's say who got the 2-to-1 ratio, right? So, and of course you can run a little bit more, like 5 nodes, 7 nodes. That said, that'll be much more efficient. And but then we do want it to be running like an Ethereum smart contract, because that's the most popular. There are existing so many smart contracts already.
Yep.
We are also going to do like Elastos contracts, Elastos smart contracts, right? Like C programs, whatnot. That said, we're also going to work with Ethereum public chain as a Friendchain. That's two level thing. One is we're going to spawn off sidechains running Ethereum VMs, right?
That could be destroyed after the it's done.
Right. Let's say we bet the game, then today we kick it in, but the game is tomorrow. After the tomorrow,
it's destroyed. Yeah,
it's destroyed. But the smart contract, the program is saved in your cloud drive, in my cloud drive. When the smart contract launches, it reads the smart contract from your cloud drive. I know you didn't manipulate because the hash, it's proven you haven't done anything with it, and or because also I have the smart contract. So, but after the game, right, and the result will be stored as a hash to the public chain. And if we want to repeat, we could repeat this process. Otherwise, we don't really have to save that sidechain.
Yes.
Right? And but on the other hand, if Ethereum has 10,000 nodes running their public chain, there are so much digital assets have already been stored, because like token issued, the crypto kitty sold, those were digital assets existed on the Ethereum public chain.
Yep.
So we could just leave them alone as a computer, as a public chain computer. So the Elastos carrier just have the IDs from the Elastos public chain. But then it doesn't really prevent applications to go access someone else's public chain, right? So to us, they're like a sidechain, so long as the apps, like the off-chains of Ethereum, using our DID and using our way of finding the websites. Basically, it's a routing thing. If it's following this one, then Ethereum will turn into our so-called Friendchain.
Yes, I remember the Friendchains, yes. Yeah. So talking about Friendchains, Neo, you guys are going to be working on a Neo Friendchain as well, correct?
We are also porting the Neo smart contracts onto our sidechains.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, so let's talk about some of Elastos' early days. So back in Microsoft, how did you come up with the network is the computer or the C++ virtual machine? How did that?
Well, actually, the original idea came from the Java authors, which is back in 1992, 1993-ish. And there was a slogan called the network is the computer, even though most people don't know what they were talking about. But then by 1998, which was like about 5 years later, and Microsoft realized actually the previous OS or device OS, like Windows 95, Windows 98, Windows NT was in NT 3.5, NT 4.0, NT 2000, Windows 2000, they were in the developing milestones in the pipeline. But then we realized there's a need for so-called .NET, the network computer, because the device OS really taking care of the device without worrying about the network. The applications have to take care of their network themselves. So if they go onto the internet being cheated because they're routed to a different fake website, and who's to blame? It's not the device OS. They have their own, like consumer have to simply kick themselves,
yep.
right? And then say, hey, how come you don't have a stronger password? And how come you don't know the DNS or middleman attacks, right? Hey, guys, what do you expect from the consumers? So there you need a so-called network OS, basically saying, I'll take care of all the network access on consumers' behalf, which basically meaning without letting applications go on to the internet themselves, because the applications, if the applications go onto the internet, literally they can kidnap users' data and took it away wherever they want. So that, with that understanding, that's why Microsoft designed this .NET instead of something else. Why it's the name coming from, right? It's the network OS. Keep generating and receiving all network packets on users' behalf. So then, basically that means applications, services, front end, back end, they could not generate network packets. All the network packets being indirectly managed by the network OS. That was the key concept. It's not by me. It's by the team or by the industry. I was trying to do is I was trying to convince. There's a team, not even myself. There's a small group of folks believed we should do it in parallel. We should not only do it in intermediate language, we should also do it in native language.
In native, yep.
Yeah, because there are two problems with intermediate language. One is because intermediate language cannot run 100% of the programs. If you want to write a game engine, you want to write a deep learning algorithm, you want to write a multimedia codec, you have to go down to the CPU level. But if you have a virtual machine, yet you have a backdoor, then the sandboxing, all the bets are off. Right? That's very obvious to me, even at that time. So another problem of intermediate language like Java is like, given our understanding, how are we going to generate network packets is by something through so-called metadata-driven remoting. So the metadata-driven actually is based on the so-called metadata. And then in order to generate network packets, you need to have the other party following exactly the same protocol.
Really?
Otherwise, you generate network packets and the other side doesn't care, doesn't receive it, right? It cannot generate message back. Then what's the use for generating network packets in the first place?
Yeah, exactly.
Because .NET meaning you take care of end-to-end.
End-to-end, yep.
On consumers' behalf, right? But when you talk about network packets, and again, that goes to native, because of if you just do Java end-to-end, what if you have JavaScript? What if you have C#? You can just take care of you're just taking care of one language.
Just one. What about the other one?
What about the other ones?
Yeah.
Right? So many different languages, so different so-called frameworks. You want to take care of them all.
Yes.
So that's why you need to go
down
one level lower, right, to the machine the CPU level. That's another reason we a small group we believed in the native remoting. But then at that time, Microsoft made a decision saying we're going to so-called
This way.
bet on the farm. That's a Steve Ballmer, right? We bet on the farm on C#. Basically, like currently saying we don't want to do the native version, right? So that disappointed me. I just left.
I'm sure it disappointed you.
Yeah, and then so we start from scratch and building the native VMs, and that's a long journey.
It's a long journey.
It is.
But it was a step that needed to happen, I think.
Well, yes. Later on, it's proven that the intermediate language approach was a wrong route to take. And after the failure of Windows Vista, actually Microsoft went back to do the native version, which we proposed back in '98. The end result actually is Windows 10.
Oh, hey, viewers. Yeah. Listen to that.
So Windows 10 actually is the C versions of .NET.
Really?
So now, but then, since I've been long gone, so we're doing a C versions of Java. And in a way compatible with Android framework. So which is completely two different approaches now.
Yes. So explain to me how that felt, when your pride and joy of what you've been working on wasn't accepted by Microsoft. How did that make you feel?
Well, it's ambivalent because it's kind of like I knew it, but then I've been. I had already left like 7 years, 8 years, and so it's too late for me to go back. Or on the other hand, we had lots of hardships on our end, so I don't even have a moment for happiness, right? Because I have enough troubles already. Yeah. So, but that's what I was trying to say. Without that happening, Elastos wouldn't be here. Yeah, that's kind of like true.
True.
But so we've been struggling actually for like 17 years until we ran into this crypto thing.
Until the blockchain.
Yeah.
So explain to me what happened when you guys found the blockchain. So how did that make you guys decide, like, let's start an ICO?
Actually, by 2016, when I seriously looked into the blockchain, because at that time, the crypto price was rising, right? So gaining momentum from the investors and on the news everywhere. So of course it caught my attention. I looked into a little bit more and interviewed quite a few guys in the crypto world. Then I realized actually they're really complementary technologies. With one or the other, neither will succeed.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to kind of mix the two.
Merge them
and
together.
merge them together. So with that realization, I start the journey, going to write up PowerPoints, proposals, talking to like a handphone and other folks. But eventually, handphone and Wujihan or bitmain, they decided to invest it into us, into the Elastos project.
Okay, so that was the kicker for it all.
Yeah, and it works out fine.
And it worked out great. Yes. So I know you have some good stories about Satoshi. So I would like to ask you about that.
I don't really have any story.
No, not
Satoshi.
a story, but a theory about we die?
Yeah, I don't know. I just I knew because Ethereum's unit is called DAI. I just knew DAI's dad.
Yes.
At Microsoft, because DAI's dad and me, we were close friends.
Really close friends.
Yeah, we were really close friends because we were once actually DAI's dad. He actually sold his startup to Microsoft.
Really?
So in '92, that early, yeah. So at that time, I was thinking maybe one day I should, work on a startup and having my own ideas or something. So we talked many times about new startups together. So I visited his home, we had dinner together, and talking about what's the possibilities and stuff. But they never really got started. But in a way, of course, through the senior Dai, I met the junior Dai.
The junior, yeah.
Yeah, the junior actually was the author of B-Money, which was the very first reference, and Wei was the very first author of the first reference of Satoshi's white paper.
Yep.
Yeah, that's, I mean, somehow it's not even Satoshi, but then.
But then you asked the senior Dai if his son was Satoshi, didn't you?
Yeah,
and he
because
said,
I asked quite a few years later, I asked whether, because there's a speculation, Wei Dai could be one of the candidates, one of 5 most possible candidates to be Satoshi. So I ran into the senior Dai and asked him, is your kid Satoshi? And basically said no, because his kid had correspondence with Satoshi, which is the truth.
That is the truth.
So Wei Dai is not the Satoshi.
Satoshi, but he had correspondence.
Should be, yeah.
Yes. That's very interesting. That's a story that I like to hear, those type of things. They're very, very interesting.
They're just like gossip.
It's just gossip, but I love gossip, who doesn't? So what are you most excited about for Elastos' future in terms of, the projects coming on top?
Yeah, as people can see today, we're announcing the alpha. It's very, very rough, actually. Very simple so-called Elastos apps running inside the Elastos browser. But then given that, I'm very encouraged because I believe with this, first of all, demo is very rough, but on the other hand, if you understand what's really, really under the hood, that's a lot of work has been achieved. And given this end-to-end demo, from the personal cloud drive, get some videos and or pictures, go all the way to the browser on the other side and popped up without HTTP, without directly exposing HTTP, without directly giving you IP address, right? They have gone a long way.
A long way, yes.
And given that checked into GitHub, I hope the international developers, because a lot of enthusiasts, they could look into the code and polish it and improve it. It'll be much more efficient than organizing a company, because then the boss doesn't really know much, right? Because that involves so many aspects of the internet.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's where we expect the communities will jump in and giving a rough architecture of the smart web. And the community should improve it in an organic way.
Yes. Yes. So how do you see this revolutionizing industries like the movie industry?
Well, because first of all, we want to build a safer internet. So then the safer internet doesn't make anybody any money. But then with a safer internet, and it'll help the business on top. They can do more business, right? Similar with the trust. The trust itself is not a business transaction, but then it helps the business to do more transactions.
Yes.
So that said, we have we have basically 4 pillars. Elastos project has 4 pillars. The number one is actually the decentralized carrier. That's easy to understand. It's like AT&T carrier without AT&T. It's autonomous driving. The reason why it's autonomous running is because there's a blockchain underneath, and the miners them kind of booting up this whole decentralized carrier, right? And also the blockchain issuing IDs for the carrier instead of AT&T giving you the
ID.
Right?
Yep.
So then you can see the connection between decentralized carrier and the blockchain. And on top of this carrier, AT&T has phones, and that's end-to-end, peer-to-peer, one phone calling the other and playing games through one with the other. So now can we build virtual machines, like cloud drive-based virtual machines on both sides? So the virtual machines will say personal data, so-called your own data. Then you need the virtual machines basically to quarantine your data and protecting them from being stolen by third-party softwares, right? So that's naturally comes a carrier, and a virtual machine runtime. So those said, but then they're just technology, they're just trust, they're just security, but they don't really make money.
Yep.
Making money would be by you have some digital assets in your virtual machine, we call them digital silos. Then you want to ship your digital assets to a different silo. You're selling your digital assets from one party to another. We call those digital assets we encrypt them into something called a digital capsule, which is just binary format designed by Elastos. So we send those digital capsules from one virtual machine to another. And then the virtual machine runs the digital capsule and validates, do you still have the right to run it, right? Because it used to be owned by party one, now you ship it to party two, even though you still have the bits on your hard drive, but you shouldn't have the right to run it anymore because you have already sold it.
It's already gone.
It's already gone. So it's validated, verified by the virtual machine. And then if you look at the WeFilm, so we're like a WeChain. We want to ViewChain. We want to build something like, because they have short videos or movies as encapsulated as digital capsules.
Yep.
You can think of games or ebooks. All those things will be encapsulated as
a silo
capsule, right?
Yep.
And then when we encapsulate a short video into a digital capsule, basically it's like you're editing a word. You save as a PDF. Now instead of save as PDF, you save as digital capsule. Then like you're printing it. How many copies you want to print? You want to say, okay, I want 100 copies.
Yeah.
Right? Then basically you save 100 digital capsules, right? Mm-hmm. And it's recorded
onto
the blockchain, right? So you have 100 to sell.
Yep. And you can't produce any more.
If you produce any more, you're violating your own contract. Mm-hmm. You're basically literally piracy your own work.
Yep.
Right? Because I'm going to sue you because that's a contract. If you have me buy one of your capsules, you're saying you only made 100. Mm-hmm. But say if there's 101, who is violating it?
You are.
Yep. Let's say you save another 100. Basically, you intentionally dilute the value of your asset. Of your own asset. Mm-hmm. Correct. So then you ship it to another one. So the middleman got a cut. And you don't own it anymore, so you should value the ones. You only have 100 to sell. That's a limited edition. What if it turned popular, right? You may want to sell a few and keep a few for yourself or something. So those are the experiments we would love, like WeFilm or ViewChain's guys to experiment
with this,
right? Because we are not expert in social media or filmmaking. But we are the enablers, right? Trying to make this new business model, which never existed before on the internet. Mm-hmm. With the blockchain plus this safer internet and digital capsule, we really hope that's something really, really exciting and looking forward to it. And as for what they can do with it, I only have high hopes. I don't know.
Yeah, the sky's the limit.
Right.
Exactly. So with Elastos, it is a highly, not controversial, it's something that I think a lot of big business and governments around the world aren't going to be too fond of. Do you have that feeling?
That I don't.
No?
Because Elastos is open source, neutral, and autonomous running, right? We're not really lean towards one company or the other. Mm-hmm. We're really, really just open sourced, right? There's not even a server sponsored by Elastos Foundation, right? Because everything is decentralized. All the individuals, the users of Elastos, in the future, they have their own cloud drives, except Elastos Foundation doesn't have a cloud drive for collecting other people's data, right?
So even if a government wanted to try to shut down Elastos, theoretically, they couldn't.
In a way, that's true.
True.
Because it's completely decentralized. It's like blockchain. There's no organization running it.
Yeah, like you said, there's no server.
But then there's a core team developing the software, right? Which is a slightly different thing because of there's no website to shut down, so to speak. But on the other hand, if you look at it, we are really have built if you see Elastos logo, it's a two-tier, two levels, right? One is actually about the physical internet. The physical internet actually is decentralized. If you think of the current internet, anybody can buy a server and get an IP address and put on the internet being accessed. So in that case, people could put in a server and detect other folks, collecting other folks' information or attacking others. That's the drawbacks of the current internet, but it's decentralized.
Yes.
And what we're saying is like a Linux and TCP/IP, they are actually at the physical level, physical machine level. And on top of it, we're building a virtual level, virtual tier, which is the cloud drive-based virtual machines. We call them personal cloud computers. Basically, they are digital silos, they're software machines, whatever you call them. And also, we're building the virtual decentralized carrier, which is another horizontal network, right, between connecting the digital silos, the virtual machines. What I'm saying is that if you look at a phone, the hardware phone is actually on the physical network. The hardware phone knows where you are. Let's say we're in Thailand, or which like GPS or how many steps you walked and how many messages you sent and blah blah. But then the virtual machine level, the virtual machine is like a spirit, like a genie, so to speak, in a legend. Right? The legend is the phone. The genie is something like embedded and lived in this hardware shell. So what I'm saying is, one software-defined computer, one digital silo, want to send a when you send a digital asset from one personal cloud computer to another one, right? It'll go to the blockchain, get the public keys and private keys, and encrypt data, and for the other party to decipher, correct? So what I'm saying is you can get the key from public chain, but then which encryption algorithms you're going to adapt. Then in that case, if the software-defined phone knows you are in Thailand, is there a government requirement which kind of encryption algorithms you should use, right? That's different. So we can literally get the encryption algorithm from the hardware machine, from the local carrier of Thailand. I mean, real telco.
Yeah, real.
Right, carrier. Then Elastos carrier, which is the virtual one. The real Thailand carrier is the physical one. Right? We could get encryption algorithm from the local carrier and encrypt your message and send it along.
Through the
So that's just preventing the third-party commercial companies from intruding privacy, right, of consumers. But on the other hand, to anti-terrorists for government's needs, I don't see a problem, right? Because they can literally grab whatever's required. We should be able to comply to the local encryption algorithms. Basically, it's like if we go fly, they have those so-called air whatever locks, right? It's air whatever safe locks, and so normal people couldn't open, but then the customs should be able to open it if they
please, yes. If they have the keys. That's an interesting concept. So regarding the component assembly runtime, that has been something that I've done a lot of research on. How long has that been worked on? Was that back in Microsoft days where you...
No, that's actually the first thing I worked on in year 2000.
Really?
Yeah. Because that's what I mean by when I realized we should be able to do it in C. Actually, the C language doesn't have metadata. So then the C language cannot implement the so-called metadata-driven remoting because it doesn't even have a metadata. So the very first thing is I would build the metadata into the C programming language. So that's the very first thing I did in year 2000. But then, of course, it took several years to mature. The current component assembly runtime literally much the same as in 2008, 2007, because at that time it's already matured. It haven't changed much.
Not much
then.
from?
No,
Wow.
It haven't changed for 10 years.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And that's a critical component of Elastos.
It is, because that's what we use to generate all the network packets.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So the future of Elastos, let me ask you, what do you see 5 years down the road Elastos is going to be?
5 years, actually, given the enthusiastic community here, I see another Netscape or not Netscape as a company, but another web is coming.
Another web is coming.
Another web, it's bigger web, because of the last web was a web of information, and this web is a web of code. That's why I call it a smart web, like a smartphone. Smartphone is a phone that runs apps. Smart web is the web that runs apps.
The apps,
right?
yep.
Right. So with that understanding, basically with the computers training, we have only two things on the hard drive: data, code, and which one is more important? Because it's more like go back to high school, no, not high school, college calculus, right? Function, constant is a function, but a function may not be a constant. Constant meaning a number. So a number actually is a function, but function is not necessarily a number, right? So what I'm saying is data actually is code, but code is not data. Yeah. Right? So then which one's bigger? So this one, definitely I see in 5 years, if everything as what we predicted, it will be a much bigger tidal wave than 1995.
Wow.
I hope so, but then I'm kind of relieved today, because my duty is kind of offloaded from me somewhat. Because first of all, being a CEO of a company, the number one job to get money for your employees.
Yes.
Which is really, really stressful.
I'm sure.
Right?
Yes.
Whether you like it or not, next payday, you have to make it. But now, if I'm tired, I may not give a meetup. So in a way, right?
Yep.
So I feel...
You feel a little bit of relief.
A lot.
Yes, a lot.
And also for like a product, definitely, I don't really... because given my age, I only know one thing. Actually, the only thing I know was metadata-driven remoting, which have nothing to do with most people, right?
Yep.
And so now I kind of feel also, I don't know whether I should go back to senior college to learn Elastos programming at this point.
So that's what I'm saying is you said, like, as a CEO, you want to be able to give your employees a paycheck. What you're going to be doing with Elastos is you're going to be putting a paycheck in all of our hands and pockets.
No. And that's the community thing, right?
Yes, exactly.
So the community thing, if they believe in like a ELA, basically it's a token of appreciation. Does ELA worth anything? Literally not. It's like a piece of money note. Does the paper worth anything? Literally no. But then if more people believe in it, you're really creating that economy that makes the people worth something.
Yes.
Right? So by printing that money, really it's not a big contribution, but then the community, how together we make with the believers, right, build the economy, then the little token of appreciation would worth something, hopefully. But then definitely it's beyond me, right? It's not me paying you guys. You guys make the thing more valuable.
We're going to own our data, and we're going to be able to sell this.
Sure.
So that's kind of what I was saying. You're putting us a paycheck in our pocket, but it is us doing it at the same time.
Correct.
But you created it, Rong.
You
started the creation.
I started, but then I don't really want to be being considered as the one made it. As I said, the simple idea started was very humble, and that's the only thing. right? Because most of the ideas from someone else.
Yeah. Well, you're very humble, Ron. You're very.
That's true.
You're very humble, and I look up to you. I bow down to you. Oh yes.
That's one thing. Absolutely, I don't want to happen.
Oh, well, you are amazing, Ron.
Yeah, because as I said, in the future, I'll help evangelizing the whole idea, and maybe take my wife traveling, giving some talks, but then a little bit more relieved. Don't have to have a pressure to make a payday.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. Well, I thank you so much. This was excellent. Is this our third interview? Third interview together. And so thank you very much, Ron.
Oh, thank you.